How did Obama deport 3 million people without causing all the chaos we see today? Well, first off, his administration didn't see anywhere near as much opposition as the current administration. But not only that, they also received assistance and cooperation from the local police departments. Under Obama, if an illegal immigrant was arrested and brought to jail, the police department would contact ICE and request a transfer. From there, all ICE had to do was send one agent to go pick up the prisoner. And the exchange would happen behind closed doors in a police department with no media, no bystanders, as well as no real threat of anyone getting hurt because the prisoner was already disarmed when they were arrested. But nowadays, not only do deep blue cities refuse to cooperate with ICE, but they actively resist them. So under Obama, they called ICE and said, hey, we got another one for you. But under Donald Trump and these sanctuary cities, they refused to share any information with the federal government. So instead of sending one agent to the police department to do a nice, safe transfer, ICE was forced to escalate the situation and send a team of agents to the courthouse to rearrest those individuals. And even though this tactic did require more agents, it was still typically safe. But then liberal judges started stepping in the way to prevent ICE from detaining people at the courthouse. One of the judges, Hannah Duggan, actually got arrested for letting the illegal immigrant go out the back door. And at the same time, you have the mainstream media saying that ICE officers are like Nazis. So if the police refuse to cooperate with ICE at the police station, and the judges refuse to cooperate with ICE in the courtroom, ICE is then forced to go out into the streets and start making those arrests. And that means you now need an entire team of agents. You need people to watch the windows, you need people to watch the back door, the front door, and all of the other escape routes. And those agents have to be heavily armed because they have no idea whether or not there are weapons in the home. So now, instead of one agent doing a simple transfer at a police station, you have a swarm of agents surrounding houses. And that's when the media jumps back in. They run a story about a cartel member who was deported to the wrong country, and in that story they call him a Maryland dad. They repeatedly broadcasted stories in ways that would make it seem to their viewers like it was American citizens that were being deported. They showed you pictures of women and children to play with your emotions, and then they sat back and waited. Because they knew empathetic people would respond to their news headlines. That's when people on the left started taking pictures of ICE agents and posting all of their personal information online. And other people who seen that information online were making threats to their wives and their children. So to prevent all of that, these agents started wearing masks. And that's when the media jumped back in to instigate and started calling these ICE officers, these federal agents, armed, masked men. And boom, you just created even more public outrage. Now a portion of the country feels obligated to protect their fellow human beings from armed masked men. So now when a team of agents come in and surround a house, a team of protesters come in and surround all the agents. Now ICE has to make sure that the team of agents stays safe, and in order to do so, they have to send in more agents to act as security. And the next thing you know, instead of sending one agent to do a simple, peaceful transfer, you now have 3,000 agents in one city. And the mayor and governor of that city are going on the news and telling the people of that city to resist ICE's operations. And that's when the liberals started professionally organizing. They created encrypted group chats that they delete at the end of every day. And in these group chats, they're running license plates to find out whether or not a vehicle belongs to the feds. The group chat has its very own dispatch. If they find a vehicle that belongs to the feds, they use this group chat as dispatch to radio to each other and discuss how they're going to block those vehicles from continuing. If they see ICE conducting a stop, they use the group chat to call all of the protesters to that location. And that's how the recipe becomes multiple agents plus multiple protesters plus heightened emotions. And all of that added together is the recipe for chaos. That's how we ended up with the Renee Good and Alex Pretty incidents. And whether you believe the officers were justified in what they did or not, those two people should have never been there in the first place. And the agents themselves wouldn't even have been there in the first place if the police department simply cooperated with the transfers like they used to. But instead of the media reporting to the public on those common sense facts, they decide to amplify and escalate things even further. They demonized ICE for taking the life of a woman with 3 children, and they conveniently left out the fact that she tried to run over an officer. They said ICE took the life of an American hero, a male nurse, and then they just left it at that. They didn't tell you about the fact that he kicked the taillights off of a federal vehicle just 11 days earlier. And they conveniently left out the fact that he had a gun. Because if you knew those details, you'd be less likely to keep protesting. And if you quit protesting, who's going to stop ICE from deporting all of the illegal immigrants? Nobody, which means ICE will successfully decrease the population of those sanctuary cities. Cities that have already seen a massive decrease in their population due to bad policies. High taxes, low wages, and poor quality of life caused millions of American citizens to leave these sanctuary cities and go to more Republican areas instead. And for the Democrats, that's a big fucking problem. Because I don't know if you know this or not, but there's 2 parts of the government. You know, you got the Senate and you got the House, okay? There are 2 senators for every state. Don't matter how many people are in the state, there's only 2. But when it comes to the House, there's 435. And the way that those 435 get divided across the states and counties and all that stuff is based on population. To make this a little bit easier to understand, the way that the population is right now, there's 1 congressperson per about every 750,000 civilians. So in a hypothetical situation where your state only has 750,000 people, your state would only get 1 congressperson to represent them. But if your state had 7.5 million people, then your state would get 10 Congress members to represent them. Now let's say for some reason your state has 7.5 million people in it right now and you have 10 governors representing your state. And then everybody fucking leaves. Like the taxes are out of control. Everyone's like, I'm out of here. They all flee to a different state, except for only about 750,000. When they do the next census, your state's going to lose 9 of its congressmen and women. And if everyone moved to, let's say, Florida, then Florida would gain 9 new congressmen or women. Now here's the thing. Let's say it's California that lost those 9 representatives and Florida gained those 9 representatives. Since California is deep blue, they're more than likely going to be losing 9 Democrat seats in the House. And since Florida is mostly Republican, they're probably going to gain 9 Republican seats in the House. And since the Democrats lost 9 people and the Republicans gained 9 people, the next time the House has to vote on whether or not they're going to raise the taxes, the Democrats are going to lose that vote. And the Democrats know that once the Republicans get a hold of all of those seats, there will be absolutely nothing that they can do to stop the Republicans from passing bills or from rejecting bills that they don't want to pass. So to summarize the last 10 minutes of your life, if the Democrats allow ICE to proceed unchecked and they do not stop ICE, they will in fact lose all of their power.